So I think just a little bit on the return to play, because that's where I live, that's my bread and butter, is there's lots of great coaches down here in the Bitterroot where I'm texting and I'm like, hey, Johnny can go to practice, but they're only to pass the soccer ball back and forth, and he can do it for 15 minutes and then he's done. So it's nice to have the coaches help in that regard. So, because I can't be everywhere at once, or knowing the athletic trainers that come down from this little boat and join that work for the school system, you know, so that's really where that comes in. But I think the hardest part is like the return to learn.
Yeah.
So that's where like, that's Grace's bread and butter, I feel like.
And so out there's some handouts too. There's just like a quick fact sheet from the CDC for parents that has all the danger signs and everything that you guys were talking about. And then there's one for teachers that is helpful because it has some tips for the classroom of like, if your student is complaining of these things, here's some options to try in the classroom. And then there's also a really nice, basically like a doctor's note kind of thing, like, you know, you put your healthcare provider's name in there and then they can check off the symptoms and what their recommendations are, and make notes and sign it, and that just acts as your note to school for what they can do.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough, but I don't know. In like my 15 years of doing a lot of concussion stuff, I've probably only had 4 athletes that are pretty bad off, that it's been like, okay, like we gotta talk to the school, like this isn't working for you, or get on the 504 plan, and they're very few and far between, but it's nice to know that the school legally has their right to make sure that your child is still learning in an environment that they can handle.
Yeah.
So when you say enough's enough with sports, with kids?
Yeah, so my rule of thumb is like 3 concussions, you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So me saying 1 concussion and you're done is a little
I mean, your rules are your rules. I will back you up.
My husband rolls his eyes at me.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if you have a thing.
No, I think 3 is pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Some of those changes can become more permanent.
yeah, and that's
Unless you have nerve deficits that are left for what? For a football game?
Yeah.
When you're 16? Really? Yeah. By my account, you got 70 years still ahead of you.
And even after a person has had a concussion and they go through the healing process and they've been cleared and it's months after the incident, are they still more susceptible to a concussion then?
Yeah.
There is some
Yes.
increased susceptibility. It
Okay.
wanes
And I
a
think
little
it
bit as
takes
time goes
less impact
Less
to
impact for the
create. I mean,
second.
that's
Yeah.
my understanding.
Yes.
Is, you know.
Probably 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why, what is it? The average lifespan of an NFL player is like 54.
Oh yeah.
So, and football is the fastest declining sport in the U.S. right now. So they're predicting the NFL is going to go bankrupt and have to decrease the number of teams because there's not enough athletes coming up to fill the college spots. College spots don't fill the NFL spots, and lots of primetime players, even a player for the Grizz, played his freshman year. Is like, yeah, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's scary. And then, of course, you have Olympic athletes that they're on concussion number 8. You know, it's their choice when they're over the age of 18 what they're doing. And we all know elite athletes. There's been a study that was done at Harvard years ago, but they said that elite athletes, if you could take substance X and you will win the World Cup, you'll win the Indy 500, you'll win the Super Bowl champion, whatever the highest of your sport is, you're guaranteed to win, but you'll die 15 years earlier. They all chose to take the pill. So, yeah.
it's that competitive nature.
Yeah, probably why I'm not an elite athlete. Like one of many reasons.
That's me.
Yeah.
I got one more question.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little off topic. You were talking about kids getting sleep, and I understand all that. We've all heard, you know, after the initial impact, don't let them sleep.
Oh,
I mean,
I forgot to
and
touch on that.
From what I was told as an EMT, it's like they do need sleep. They need to be checked on. So what is the true
It's a
protocol on
I
that?
totally, and just hoping somebody would ask that. I totally forgot to bring it up. So you're not waking them up every hour. You're doing that. You're causing more damage. So the brain gets hit with this concussion. It loses that ability to auto-regulate. The glucose isn't there. It needs to rest, right? So the brain needs to decrease this inflammation is to let that glucose come back in, feed all those neurons, make the brain work. If you're waking them up, you're tiring them out, consuming those energy, you're causing more consumption of the nutrients that the brain needs. So you need to let them rest. What you're doing every 3 hours is you're going in, is he breathing fast? Is he breathing weird? Is he twitching? Is he bent over? Is he just not normal? Otherwise, let him sleep, right? We used to wake him, oh my God, we used to wake him up every hour.
Yeah, I think that was
Can
the
you
last
imagine
thing
being
I-
woke up every freaking hour?
Oh,
Oh my God, it'd be
Wait, I
unbearable.
am.
in
I
the
know
morning.
I do know what that feels like.
Not since my kids were little, have I had that go on in my life, right?
Leave me alone.
And you can kind of see in yourself, if you don't get good sleep how you are, now put a brain injury on top of that, and it's just not going to be any better. So we don't do that. We just observe them. Yes, unfortunately, mom and dad have sentinel duty all night long, every 2-3 hours. Like,
Yeah.
okay, and who's going to sleep well anyway?
Yeah.
Most of us probably not. Staring at the
Stares
floor.
me.
Yeah, chair. My wife would say, "Would you
Creepily.
please sit down?" I will. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Marissa's going to talk about post-concussion syndrome and kind of the gut-brain connection.
Yeah. So, obviously a lot of what we've been talking about, most kids do recover. They get right back into their sport. Sometimes it takes, 10 days to a month. Most people will recover. There are some that do not, and I feel like the higher percentage is after you've had your first, you're moving on to now your second or third. I think it's harder to recover. It takes less impact. And so, a lot of this is, there's lingering effects. So a lot of them tend to be cognitive. So you can see things like, decreased attention. So sometimes, if it's been long enough, like I feel like when I start seeing people, when they come to me, it's been years. And so they are like, oh, I have ADD, I can't read a book, or maybe it looks like depression or anxiety or chronic headaches or migraines. And it can look like a lot of different things. So when you're closer to the situation, it's a little easier to tell what's going on. When it's further down the road and you start getting, older folks with dementia, or, it's like, what is causing this, and essentially what post-concussion syndrome is the brain just hasn't fully recovered. There is lingering inflammation in the brain, and things just aren't, like the functionality has not returned. And so, like I said, by the time people come to me, it's a little further down the road. But I feel like there's a lot of ways to kind of prevent that. And to, right when the concussion has happened, to really speed up healing in the body, there's ways to kind of support that process. One thing I do a lot of homeopathy in my practice. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but essentially they're very dilute substances, and they kind of stimulate the body's own healing ability to kick in. So one thing that I always keep on me, I have two active boys that are into sports, and they're always going head first into everything.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. I always keep arnica. I don't know if you guys are familiar with arnica. It's actually the plant itself is pretty toxic, but with a homeopathic remedy, it's extremely dilute. And so you put little pellets under their tongue. You can start right away. I usually do it like every hour or so initially, and it kind of helps the body. So inflammation is good. That is how our brain and our body heals. What is not good is when that inflammation gets completely out of control and takes over. And so what this remedy does is it kind of helps the body heal properly. It's like the right amount of inflammation, and it does what it needs to do, and then it clears away and things get better. So arnica is something that I just keep on me at all times. It's in my car, it's in my purse. Never leave home without it. When I'm on like the sidelines, I always have it. So anyway, it's a hot tip. It's very safe. You can't overdo it. It's extremely dilute. I wouldn't actually take the tincture itself internally. You can also use arnica topically. So like if you sprain an ankle, you can use arnica topically to kind of help that healing process happen as well. But one of the biggest things is rest, as we've all talked about several times. If you want the body to heal anything, you have to rest. Whether it's the flu, a broken bone, or a broken brain, you have to rest. And, I think, kind of respecting the body's ability to heal and kind of giving the body time to do that, you're gonna have much better outcomes long term if you don't rush it.